You're probably listening to this on a smartphone. Maybe you've got a smartwatch on, perhaps a big gaming PC under your desk.
Yeah.
Well, chances are the company that actually, built that thing, or at least a huge chunk of its insides, is Foxconn. That's who we're talking about today.
Yeah, Han High Precision Industry, to use their official name. And when you say huge, they're basically the definition of huge in electronic manufacturing services, EMS.
Right. They're not just a player. They kind of are the market, right? Like over 40% global share.
Exactly.
Right.
Everything from your phone, game consoles, all the way up to the massive servers powering the cloud. They touch pretty much everything electronic.
And the scale. I mean, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. Peak season, they employ something like 900,000 people.
Close to 900,000, yeah. Think about that. It's like the entire population of San Francisco clocking in for one company. And, well, that massive size is actually the core of their big challenge right now. The current leadership, Lu Yangwei, they're trying to do something incredibly difficult.
Which is what? Turning that giant ship, right?
Precisely. It's like trying to turn an aircraft carrier around in a, well, very small harbor. They need to pivot this enormous operation away from just doing the traditional low-margin assembly work.
The stuff they got famous for.
Exactly. And steer it towards, new areas, high-value, higher-profit markets.
So that's the big question for us today, isn't it? How does this manufacturing Goliath, whose whole identity is built on being super efficient at making hardware cheaply, how do they reinvent themselves as a high-tech solutions company?
Because that old model, the contract manufacturing thing, it worked brilliantly for decades. But around 2015, things started to change. It kind of hit a wall.
What happened? Margins got squeezed.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. You have the smartphone market slowing down, finally. Plus, you had intense competition popping up, particularly from really capable companies in China.
Okay.
So just being the biggest wasn't enough anymore. Margins were getting razor thin. They needed to be smarter, not just bigger.
So the vision had to shift from just taking orders, being the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer, to actually becoming what do they call it? A solution company.
That's the term. And the goal was super clear, very ambitious. Get those notoriously thin profit margins up, way up, like into double digits.
Double digits. For that kind of manufacturing, that's a huge jump.
Oh, absolutely. And the roadmap to get there is what they call the 3+3 strategy.
Okay, 3+3. Sounds simple enough.
It is, conceptually. It's the framework for all their big bets now. Basically, 3 key emerging industries they want to be in, powered by 3 core technologies they need to master.
All right, let's unpack that. What are the 3 industries? I bet I can guess the first one. It's everywhere.
Go on.
EVs, electric vehicles.
Bingo. That's the big flashy one everyone talks about. But the other 2 are just as important for them. Digital health and robotics.
Interesting. Digital health and robotics.
Yeah, those are the 3 pillars. They see these as massive, fast-growing markets where they can build their future business, for the next few decades.
Okay, so EVs, digital health, robotics, and the 3 technologies, the +3 part. What's enabling all this?
That would be, number 1, artificial intelligence, AI. Then semiconductors, controlling more of the chip side. And finally, next-generation communication. And think 5G, and whatever comes next, be 5G.
AI, semis, and comms. Makes sense.
And it's not just buzzwords. These are the tools, the capabilities that let them move beyond just screwing parts together towards designing and managing the whole system.
Got it. Now, I heard they have this really strict checklist before they actually, put money into any of these 6 areas.
You do. Very rigorous. 3 key requirements. First, the market opportunity has to be absolutely enormous.
Okay, go big or go home.
Pretty much.
You're rich.
Second, the growth rate, the annual growth has to be really high. And third, this is the crucial one. Foxconn has to actually have some kind of built-in advantage.
So they can't just buy their way in. They need to leverage what they're already good at.
Exactly. That manufacturing DNA has to give them an edge. They're not just throwing darts at a board.
The EV example really shows this, doesn't it? They know they're amazing at hardware, putting complex things together, managing supply chains, but, they're not exactly a household car brand.
Right. They're not trying to be the next Tesla or Ford selling cars directly to you and me. They sidestep that whole brand trap.
So what's the play then?
It's a co-development model. They essentially become the ultimate behind-the-scenes partner for car brands. Think of them as the world's most sophisticated EV contractor.
Okay.
They partner up with companies like Fisker for that Project Peer people talked about. They offer the whole package. Design help, software development, managing the actual manufacturing, sometimes even providing the factory itself.
Like that Lordstown Motors plant they bought in Ohio?
Exactly. They gave them an instant manufacturing footprint in the U.S. for EVs.
Sure.
They build the platform, the foundation, and let the car brand focus on the marketing, the sales, the customer experience.
That's smart. Play to your strengths. Okay, but what about the other two? Digital health. How does that fit with making phones and servers? Seems like a leap.
Well, think about what goes into health tech. Sensors, miniaturized components, high precision.
Okay. Wearables, monitors?
Exactly. Preventative health devices, remote diagnostics. These things need incredible manufacturing accuracy, and they need to be made at huge scale if they're going to be affordable. That plays right into Foxconn's wheelhouse. They can handle that volume and precision.
So they're aiming to be the hardware engine for the digital health revolution. Makes sense. And robotics, is that just for their own factories, or are they selling robots now?
It's a bit of both, actually. But the strategy is definitely looking outwards, too. It connects directly to their smart manufacturing push. They've spent years automating their own massive factories, right? Learning what works, what doesn't. Now they're basically packaging that expertise. The robots, the automation systems, the software to run it all, and selling it as a solution to other companies.
Whoa. So they took their internal best practices and turned it into a product line. That's a genuinely clever pivot.
It really is.
Okay, so moving on, we need to talk about the soft side of this, the culture shift. I remember hearing that famous quote, maybe a bit harsh, from the former Google CEO. Something like, "Taiwan's great, but the software is bad."
Ouch. Yeah, that quote definitely highlighted a huge challenge, and even an existential one for companies like Foxconn back then.
Yeah.
They had to move beyond just being seen as the hardware guys.
If they wanted those higher margins, they needed software smart.
Exactly. They needed to design, integrate, manage these complex systems, not just assemble them.
So how are they tackling that? You mentioned integrated platforms, smart manufacturing, smart cities, smart EVs, and this acronym IDM.
Right, IDM stands for Innovation, Integration, Design, and Manufacture.
Okay.
It's their new philosophy, basically. It's not just OEM anymore, where the customer just hands over the blueprints. IIDM means Foxconn gets involved way earlier at the innovation stage, the design stage.
Offering the whole package.
The whole package.
Right.
End-to-end solutions, integrating the hardware, the software, cloud stuff, managing production. They want to be the one-stop shop, the full-stack provider.
And is it working? I mean, that sounds good on paper, but have they actually landed big projects that show they can do this high-margin, software-heavy stuff?
Well, the biggest proof point recently has been in AI infrastructure.
The server market.
The very high end of it. Those NVIDIA GV200 server orders, they're really complex, super high-demand AI servers. Foxconn reportedly secured something like 60% of those orders.
60%? Wow. How do they pull that off? I mean, everyone wants a piece of that AI hardware boom. What was their edge? Just being cheap?
No, not just cheap. That wouldn't cut it for this level of tech. It was about their integration skills and especially their expertise in things like thermal management, cooling these incredibly powerful, dense servers.
Oh, right. Those things generate insane heat.
Exactly. So Foxconn combined their decades of manufacturing precision with their new capabilities in AI and system design. They could solve the complex engineering problems, like the liquid cooling needed for the GB200, and do it at massive scale. That's IIDM right there.
So they weren't just assembling, they were helping optimize the design for manufacturing, adding real value.
That's the key. Now, beyond the tech itself, there's also the supply chain piece. Controlling the critical components, which brings us to that big Sharp acquisition a few years back.
Right. Sharp, the Japanese electronics giant, that seemed like a big deal at the time.
It was huge. It basically launched their brand plus OEM strategy. Suddenly, they weren't just buying critical parts like high-end display panels. They owned a major producer of them through Sharp.
And they have Innolux too, right? Another panel maker.
Correct. So they started integrating vertically, gaining control over key upstream components.
Which means they're not getting squeezed by suppliers as much. And it actually puts them in direct competition with companies like Samsung, who always did both the components and the final branded product.
Precisely. It secures their supply lines and expands their market power simultaneously. It's about owning more of the value chain.
Okay. And the last piece of this external strategy seems to be spreading out geographically.
Yeah, the global layout, as they call it. You just can't put all your factories in one region anymore. It's too risky with, geopolitics, supply chain disruptions.
Plus, customers want stuff made closer to home sometimes.
Exactly. So you see these massive investments flowing into places like Vietnam, India, expanding in Mexico, even building more capacity in the U.S., especially for things like servers and EV parts.
Makes sense. For EVs especially, local manufacturing can be a requirement or just way more efficient.
It's a necessary evolution. But imagine the complexity shifting production around the globe, while also developing all these new technologies and business models. It's a logistical nightmare, frankly.
Which leads us nicely into the final part, the people. Who manages this? This controlled chaos. The leadership challenge must be immense.
Arguably the biggest internal challenge, finding and developing the right talent. They need leaders who get software, who understand AI, who can think about global solutions. Not just guys who know how to run a factory floor really efficiently.
So how do you cultivate that? I know they use that 70-20-10 rule for development. Lots of companies talk about that. But how does Foxconn actually do it?
They seem to apply it pretty rigorously. The 70% is all about tough on-the-job experience.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're a manager, go set up our new EV line in Mexico, deal with the suppliers, the labor, the regulations all at once, sink or swim.
Trial by fire.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Then 20% is learning from others, mentorship, team projects, and only 10% is formal classroom stuff. The emphasis is heavily on learning by doing in high-stakes situations.
Okay, and that feeds into this really unique thing they started, the rotating CEO system, kicked off in 2024. What is that exactly? Sounds wild.
It is pretty wild. They take 6 leaders from their main business groups, and each one gets a turn, acting as the overall group CEO for 1 year.
For a whole year?
For a whole year. It's basically a real-time, high-pressure audition and development program. They have to make group-wide decisions, deal with everything outside their usual division. It exposes their strengths, their weaknesses, under intense scrutiny.
So they're trying to find out who can actually handle the complexity of the whole 3+3 strategy, not just run their own silo.
That's the idea, and they've been very clear about what they're looking for in that future leader. 4 key qualities.
Which are?
Vision, and you need to align this giant organization. Communication skills, got to sell that vision globally. Sharp foresight, seeing what's coming next technologically. And this last one is interesting. The perseverance to fight and fail repeatedly.
Right, and fail repeatedly. Grit. That says a lot about how hard they expect this transformation to be.
Yeah, it acknowledges you're going to hit roadblocks turning that aircraft carrier. You need leaders who won't give up.
And that long-term view seems to extend to their R&D too, investing way out like 3-7 years ahead.
Right. They have these research institutes focused purely on future manufacturing tech, stuff that's years away from being market ready. It's a deliberate shift away from just focusing on the next production cycle, short-term, low-margin stuff.
That takes serious commitment, investing in things that won't pay off for maybe half a decade or more.
It does, and it even ties into how they think about patents, intellectual property.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Their kind of provocative stance is that the main reason to have patents isn't just to lock down your own tech. It's actually to share the underlying principles with the industry.
Share? That sounds counterintuitive.
The idea is, by sharing through licensing or other means, you prevent everyone else from wasting resources reinventing the same wheel. Protecting your IP is just the mechanism that allows controlled sharing, but the goal is faster progress for everyone. It positions them almost like a platform for the industry.
Using IP to accelerate the whole field, not just hoard secrets. That's a different way of looking at it.
It is.
So, wrapping this up, we've seen Foxconn's incredible journey. From making plastic parts for TVs back in 1974 to becoming the world's factory, and now this audacious pivot, betting big on AI, EVs, becoming a solutions provider. It's just a massive strategic overhaul.
It really underscores that even the biggest, most dominant companies can't stand still. You have to transform, or you eventually fade away. And it takes huge investment, not just in money and tech, but in people.
Absolutely. And hey, before we finish, we should give a quick shout out to our friend Steve, the executive director of the Arizona, Taiwan office. He actually suggested we take a look at Foxconn. It's always eye-opening to see the strategy behind these global giants.
Yeah, good suggestion. And Neighbor, here's a final thought for everyone listening. Foxconn has proven they are masters of hardware, of manufacturing at scale. Now they're pushing hard into this IIDM model, focusing on software, AI, the soft power side. The big question is, how quickly can their internal culture, their talent, really adapt and catch up to that ambition? And maybe more interestingly, once they fully integrate these capabilities, what's the next big, maybe slow-moving industry that could get completely shaken up by Foxconn bringing its scale and full-stack approach to bear?
Good question to ponder. Go aboard the business channel. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications.